Welcome to the Powerplay 904 YouTube show. I'm your host, TCJ. I'm joined by the lesser TC, I guess he's just TC, and the guy who's actually played the game, Vinny Milani.
What's up, boys?
How are we doing today?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing fine. TC?
I'm doing okay. Doing less okay after that introduction.
That was the point.
Need some work, buddy.
Disrespectful.
Again,
you respect your elders.
Like that was the point.
You respect your elders.
Yeah, so it's been a while since we've done this, so we're still trying to get back into the swing of things. But so we are a week away, or sorry, not a week away, a week past the trade deadline, and I think the most important thing to talk about when it comes to that is the Columbus Blue Jackets, who, as everyone knows, went all in at the trade deadline, and right now they find themselves outside of a playoff position. Vinny, what do you think about that?
I think Columbus will figure it out. I think they're going through a little struggle right now. Got a lot of new faces entering in the lineup. Guys like Matt Duchene, Ryan Dzingel, Adam McQuaid. Guys getting used to the lineup still. I think they'll figure it out and find their way into the last playoff spot in the East. That's my prediction. I'm on the CBJ hype train. Is what I'm starting right now.
I cannot hop on that hype train.
I'm all over it, man.
I just can't. Listen, I mean, I'm sure they'll find a way to make it into the playoffs. But I think they made some stupid decisions at the dead. I mean, the way they're set up, they almost have to win this year. And I think they just mortgaged too much of the future to make a push this year. And I think it would be hilarious if they missed. But most importantly, as talented as Matt Duchene is, he doesn't win. Everywhere he goes, his team loses.
Yeah, he has lost in the past, and that's unfortunate. And I would think it has something to do with the teams that he's been on, though. I mean, Colorado has been a shit show, and then
Colorado's gotten better though.
Yeah, without Matt Duchene, though.
Yes,
without Matt Duchene after they traded him, but when he was on the team, there was just a losing culture on the team. None of the young guys were there yet. Rottinen did not find his step. McKinnon didn't find his step either. And then with Ottawa, I mean, come on, that was a dumpster fire in Ottawa. I mean, he did make the playoffs with Ottawa and was one game away from the Stanley Cup final.
No, Vinny, no, stop.
Wasn't he on that team?
No, he was not on that team.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that was the year after. No, he was on that team, wasn't he? No,
it was the year after. Come on, man. Better than that.
Oops.
You are way better than that. So I'm looking at the Athletics playoff projections. This is by Dom. I can't pronounce his last name. And they have the Blue Jackets at a 56% chance to make the playoffs at this point. So they're not in a really great position right now. But again, there's still plenty of, maybe not plenty, but there's still a decent amount of hockey to be played. And I think they still have a talented enough roster that they can pull themselves out of a hole out of the hole that they dug for themselves. So right now they're 2 points behind the Penguins and 2 points behind the Canadiens. But the Canadiens do have a game in hand. So big opportunity for the Blue Jackets tonight to pick up 2 points against the Devils team that's pretty much playing their AHL roster at this point.
Do you buy into Montreal, though? A team that no one really thought would be in this spot. I remember reading a bunch of articles before the season started, did a little research and saw that a lot of people did not think Montreal would be in this spot. They would be at the bottom, close to the bottom of the league, or at least the Eastern Conference. And like you said, they're battling for a playoff spot. I don't think many of people thought that they would be here. Do you think that the team that we thought Montreal would be will start to show?
No, I think at this point, 66 games in, you are who you are at this point. There's really not much of a room for falling down to earth. And I think they've been playing some pretty good hockey. I mean, I just think that a big thing is that there really isn't a whole lot of. Well, they're playing well. They don't really have a whole lot of like elite talent, but they've really had some nice years from Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Max Domi, and them. Carey Price refining his game was pretty much the catalyst here too. So a big step up this year from Claude Julien's squad compared to last year. And if I was just to look at, between the Canadiens, the Blue Jackets, and the Penguins, I had to pick two. I would probably leave the Canadiens out, but I still think that the Canadiens are a pretty decent team.
Yeah, I think any team I think when you have one of the best goalies in the league, it definitely helps no matter what. I think that will ultimately be the difference maker in the end. I don't know. I feel like Montreal ends up getting bounced by Columbus when we get to the playoffs. I feel like making the playoffs wise, Columbus makes the playoffs and Montreal does not.
I mean, what's worse, missing the playoffs and having like a 0.5% chance of getting a lottery spot, or getting bounced by the Lightning in the first round in 5 games,
Yeah, I mean, the Rangers are one team that is doing something where they're winning a lot of games, not a lot of games, but they're winning games that you're like, man, I kind of wish they would kind of tone it back a little bit because I want to lose for Hughes. But I mean, it's in the end, wants to make the playoffs,
or go Crapo for Kako, but that's the best one I've seen. So we're rolling with that one.
I want Jack Hughes so bad for the Rangers. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. I mean, it could happen, but it's probably not going to.
No,
they could win the lottery from where they are. Crazy things have happened,
but they don't. Breaks my heart.
Brendan, you were saying that at this point you are who you are. Well, as a Flyers fan, I have to say I'm used to hockey teams going on wild pendulum swings of 8-game losing streaks and 10-game winning streaks. So I still think anything can happen. I don't think the Flyers are getting in, but I don't think Montreal or Columbus is necessarily a lock to stay where they are, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and speaking of the Eastern Conference playoffs, how do we feel about the Hurricanes coming out of nowhere and finally regressing to the mean and becoming a very good hockey team?
I love the Hurricanes. I love everything they're doing. I unfortunately don't think they'll make the playoffs, but I love everything they're doing in Carolina, pissing off Don Cherry, the storm surge. It's so great. It's amazing to see. It's good for the city. It's good for hockey in the Carolinas. It's just so much fun to watch, and I wish they would make the playoffs. I
really want them to make the playoffs.
Hey, storm surge in round 1. Let's go.
Do the storm surge after an OT win on the road, please.
On the road? Oh, that's asking a lot.
I'm just saying it would be fantastic.
That'd be pretty interesting to see.
Vinny, I do recall a discussion that we had over the summer about is it right about when the Jeff Skinner trade went down? I think you and I got into an argument over who we thought would have a better shot at the playoffs between the Hurricanes and the Sabres. And I said the Hurricanes.
Did I say Buffalo?
Yeah, I think you said Buffalo.
Yikes. It's a tough look.
Yeah.
Buffalo's not out of it, though. Buffalo's not that far out of it. I guess they are.
I mean,
they're behind the Flyers. They're out of it.
They're 9 points back of the Canadiens, who are...
Anything could happen. Still a lot of hockey left.
Yeah,
yeah, but I don't think they've won consecutive games since their win streak. So
Buffalo's on the rise.
Buffalo is on the rise.
Buffalo's on the rise.
You heard it here first. Buffalo in.
Buffalo
and Vinny says Buffalo and Columbus in. What?
Arizona makes it and Buffalo makes it somehow.
I
Going for it.
think.
Calling it.
Well, let me look at.
Well, Connor's
Arizona can definitely make it. Arizona
No.
is
No.
much closer to making it than Buffalo is.
Yeah, we can steer this conversation in that direction since we talked about the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
The Western Conference playoff race is calling it a race is kind of an understatement. It's more I've seen the term turtle race thrown around. It's not pretty. More than likely, any bubble Eastern Conference team could easily make it in the Western Conference. Right now, the top three in each division are, at least to me, pretty much locks.
Yeah.
To me, the Jets, Predators, and Blues probably aren't moving. They might move between the three of them, but they're probably not moving out of the top three. And
I could see
Sharks, and Golden Knights aren't going to move out of the top three.
I could see St. Louis drop into a wild card spot, I guess, but I'm not sure.
I'm
not crazy about any of those wild card teams moving into that 3 spot, though, so I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just think that the Stars, Wild, Avalanche, and Coyotes are just too mediocre, and the Blues have been playing just so well over the last,
they got a lot of talent
months
on their roster.
Well, the big thing was that they finally got the goaltending. Jake Allen has been terrible this year, but Jordan Binnington just catching fire has been the reason why they've been just so good over the last, half of the season or so. It's been an impressive run from the Blues because, honestly, I think in November and December, we pretty much counted them out of playoff contention entirely.
I'm just mad at Binnington because he's stealing the spotlight from Carter Hart, but that's okay.
Jordan Binnington has been lights out, dude. He has been stellar, and it is unfortunate for you that he's been outplaying Carter Hart, but he has been.
Carter Hart was hurt.
Yeah, but even when Carter Hart was healthy, he was not doing what Jordan Binnington has been doing. I was looking at a stat the other night. Jordan Binnington, somewhere around his last 10 games, he's got 4 shutouts, and 2 of those being against teams like Nashville and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So that's kind of a big deal.
That's a big deal. So does he have a shot to win the Calder over Pettersson, or does Pettersson have that as a lock?
No, Pettersson I think has that one locked up.
Essentially he's taking a team that was going to miss the playoffs and turning them into the third team in that division.
But it's hard for
Pettersson doesn't have that effect.
If Matt Murray didn't, since Matt Murray didn't win the Calder in his weird rookie year, it's just so hard for a goaltender to win Rookie of the Year that I think Binnington will definitely get some discussion. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the top 3 finalists, but I don't think he's going to win it.
Yeah, it also comes back to his games played. He doesn't have. And by the end of the season, he may have starter numbers in terms of games played, but really though, he doesn't. In my eyes, if he started the year as the starter for the Blues, it may be a different story. Mm-hmm. But just because he came in relief and has basically taken the reins from Jake Allen now, I think that will be the big factor in why he doesn't win that or be in contention for the Vezina.
So the Blues have played 65 games, so they have 17 games left. I would figure Binnington probably gets 10 or 11 of those.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 31, 32 games played for Jordan Binnington, or at least, we'll go with that. We'll just go games played. And honestly, that's just not enough to me to take away from what guys like Elias Pettersson, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and Rasmus Dahlin have done this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Do we think this changes the way the Blues view Jake Allen? Because he's under contract for the next 2 years.
Absolutely. Jake Allen really has struggled over his last couple of years, and it absolutely changes the way they view Jake Allen.
I can definitely see Jake Allen going into the whole the kind of like a role of the Jimmy Howard, the way people look at Jimmy Howard. He shouldn't be a starter. He is, because
but he's going to be.
Yeah, but the problem with that analogy is that Jimmy Howard has actually been good this year.
Good. He hasn't been stellar. He hasn't been anything special, in my opinion.
I don't know. Maybe just because I'm too used to looking at Martin Jones as like 898. I see a 908, and I'm like, hey, that's pretty good, especially for Detroit. But I think all things considered, yeah, Jimmy Howard's been decent.
I kind of feel like Jake Allen would be like the kind of goalie that the Flyers would go after if they didn't have Carter Hart, like a 2-year stopgap goalie that's not really special.
Are you referencing Brian Elliott?
Brian Elliott, Michael Neuvirth, Steve Mason a few years ago.
Yikes.
I guess, yeah.
It's a rough
goalie
list.
like that.
It's a tough list.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, hey, the Flyers set the record for most goalies used in a season this year. So
we're up to 8.
Also not a good look.
But I think the other thing is that it's really going to change the dynamic of the Central Division playoffs, because before the Blues' run, it was like the Jets and the Predators and nobody else. But now it's going to be, the Jets and Predators are going to be fighting it tooth and nail to get first place. Because I don't know about you, but if I were one of them, I wouldn't want to play the Blues in the first round.
I still think both of those teams are better than the Blues. I still think there's a pretty big gap. Not a pretty big gap, but there's a significant gap between whoever the second best team is, and I think that's probably Nashville, the second best team, and the Blues.
I know, I'm not a super big fan of Winnipeg. Like, honestly, if the Blues and the Jets played each other in the first round, I would actually want to pick the Blues.
You're not a big fan of Winnipeg? What are you, crazy?
I'm not a big fan of
Winnipeg. Winnipeg is better than Nashville.
No.
Winnipeg's
5-on-5 numbers haven't been great. Just not. I think that Winnipeg, considering their roster, is capable of a lot more than what they've shown this year.
Yeah, I think Winnipeg and Nashville are both on the same level in terms of talent. And I think, honestly, if that's a 7-game series, it'll come down to the goaltending again, like it was last year, where Pecorine kind of stole the show. I think it's the other way around this year, where it would be Connor Hellebuck really taking some games away from Nashville. And like I said, I think both teams are on the same level. I mean, come on, they acquiring Kevin Hayes. Come on. Patrick Laine still hasn't figured it out yet, but he eventually will.
He will.
That talent. That's the thing.
I just think Winnipeg is overall a faster team than Nashville. And I think that goes a long way, particularly in the playoffs.
Think about it. Think about it this way. Winnipeg is doing what they're doing now without Patrick Laine being like
one
of the best players. So imagine if they do get Patrick Laine rolling. Like, that team will be sick. And I think that's what ends up happening, and Winnipeg makes a run.
And I look at it. I look at the numbers. I look at Corsi and expected goals, and I just see like an team that's gotten like
slave to the fancy
better results than what they've gotten good results in spite of a pretty mediocre process.
I think to counter Vinny's point about Patrick Laine, as much as I think I do think Winnipeg is the better team, I want to say I think Philip Forsberg has another gear that he hasn't quite reached this season. I think he's got the potential to just take over a game, but he's sitting at like 5th on the team in points, and he's got 22 goals so far. That's behind Victor Arvidsson, but I think he's got a little bit more. That if he can tap into that, that'll give the Predators something else to go at, to chase the Jets down with.
I think another team we're maybe forgetting about in the West that we haven't really talked about is Vegas. I know you hate Vegas, TCJ, but they're another team that's really good. And one move that Nashville did at the deadline was acquire Wayne Simmons. Sorry, Connor, to break your heart. But that move to me is a huge move for Nashville to compete with a team like Vegas, who is kind of like a grind out team. They're not anything fancy, but they get the job done. But that's what Nashville did during the deadline to compete with Vegas. But there is still Winnipeg out there who is more of a speed team and puts the puck in the back of the net kind of team. So it's going to be interesting to see how Nashville can compete with Vegas and who can compete with Winnipeg. And like I said, I like Winnipeg a lot, so watch out for Winnipeg.
I mean, yeah, Vegas. Okay, the Pacific Division. I mean, we talk about playoffs all the time and how the NHL playoff format is terrible, but one of the Flames, Sharks, and Knights are going to be out by the end of the first round. And
yes.
One of the Blues, Jets, and Predators is going to be out in the first round.
I feel like that last one was a pretty easy one.
Probably.
I mean, like those 6 teams are all, I think, really good. And I think it's hard to – I don't really think that there's a whole lot of difference between the 6 of them. I think there's definitely a hierarchy there. And, you know, I think to me, Nashville, San Jose, and Calgary at the top there. But I don't know. I just think that the West this year is going to be an absolute gauntlet.
I just can't see how you don't put Winnipeg in that top. Like, I don't. That's mind blowing because like if I had a top 3 in the West, it would be San Jose, Winnipeg, and Nashville. I wouldn't have Calgary on there because in the playoffs you need stellar goaltending and you're relying on Mike Smith. That doesn't.
It's funny you say that when you have the Sharks in the top 3, though. So like,
Martin Jones has the potential, though, to be a good goaltender.
Yeah, I just the idea of depending on a goalie with a sub 900 save percentage to just like trust him to like flip a switch and just become really good all of a sudden terrifies me. Like it's such a scary thought. But then you look at the Sharks lineup. The fact that they have, I think I saw someone tweet out the other night that it was, I think the Sharks have like 11 double-digit goal scorers this year. It's a lethal lineup, and them doubling down on that by picking picking up Nyquist from the Red Wings is pretty much them saying that, you know, it's not going to matter how bad our goaltending is because we're just going to try to score 5 goals a game because we just have so much depth.
And I think as good as Calgary has been in this this season, I think they rely a lot on Johnny Gaudreau, and he's a great player, and they've got some pieces around him to build around. But I really don't see them going on that deep of a run. I mean, if they keep their top seed, they will probably win a round just because they have to play whoever else limps into the playoffs. But then if you have to face one of the Sharks or the Knights in 7 games, I don't see how they have the depth to really go toe-to-toe with either one. But I do like the direction that organizationally they're going. I think probably next year they can make a significant run.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure.
So, Vinny, going back to the Winnipeg point, looking at natural stat trick here, the Jets are 15th in Corsi for percentage, and I'm looking at scoring chances, and it's not good. So,
Vinny doesn't understand what you're saying.
Slave to the advanced stats. What were Washington's advanced stats last year?
I mean, they weren't great, but they were also trending up when they went to as they got closer to the playoffs.
Well, maybe we'll wait and see if Winnipeg starts to trend up.
23rd for scoring chances, least scoring chance for percentage. So it's not like that makes it hard for me to jump on the Winnipeg bandwagon. I think they belong. I think they're a good team, but in a conference where you have a bunch of really good teams, that it's hard for me to pick them above the best. You know, it's easy to me that let's take a team like San Jose. If the standings hold, their two cup finals would be Vegas, probably Calgary, and then probably the winner of Winnipeg Nashville. And then that's just getting to the cup finals. That's the road out of the West this year. And it's not like it gets any easier in the Central Division, I think. And it looks like Vinny has dropped. And I guess my hot takes about Winnipeg were a little too much for him.